Hello, hello, the doc is in, and welcome back to another chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 265. Alright, so last chapter, Yuji drops the domain. It's time. Sukuna is officially cooked. It's time for left, right, good night, Yuji to take the dub. Or so we thought. This chapter is very, very different from what I would have anticipated the next chapter was going to be. I thought we were going to get like, well, I actually no, I assumed we were going to get a talking chapter, but I kind of assumed that the chapter would go in the direction of like, Sukuna, explain to me your whole life story, and he explains it, and then Yuji's like, nope, I don't get it. All right, buddy, see you around, and then we cut to his body being minced to a million pieces, and then we win. Now, actually, it's Yuji flashback time, which is totally surprising because up to this point, you would feel like we kind of get Yuji more or less. No. Oh, well, actually, no, we do still get Yuji more or less, but we get like an update on his philosophy at the moment, and yeah, it's just an interesting chapter. And because it's not a fighting chapter, and the details of this aren't that important. And when I say they're not that important, what I mean is that as a layman myself, someone who's not going to do the research for all the undertones and meanings behind particular areas in Japan that we go to, and what the meanings of each individual Japanese and or reference to a particular item means, well, a lot of these things don't matter. You can go to another YouTuber if you want to check that kind of stuff out. They'll get you right when it comes to that kind of information. Me, a layman, a fighting head, if you would, a shonen slut, I guess. I'm gonna go over this. I like to, in which we're just gonna go over the overall meanings and what I think we can take away going into the next chapter. So, overall, basically, Yuji spends some time talking to Sukuna about his memories, going through all these various things in his past until Sukuna eventually gets tired of it. And Sukuna really entertains it for quite a while, which is kind of interesting. I guess Sukuna maybe feels like he's dead, or maybe he feels safe, so to speak. Um, it is suggested on what it is like kind of left up in the air on whether this is like Yuji's domain or not. I'm going to officially say that, at least in my opinion, I don't think we're quite in Yuji's domain. I think we're like in between his domain and like this secret cursed realm that it seems like a lot of various characters have interacted with, i.e., Gojo, Hashimo, Sukuna, multiple occasions, Jogo, so on and so forth. This cursed realm where it kind of connects people without necessarily being a violent space, and more specifically, not a domain, at least specific to someone in particular. I think that's where we're at the moment. And Yuji purposefully came here, though they are also still in his domain. So maybe it's like a combination of the two. But I would lean towards the idea of it's more like the Curse Realm, where he was like, I wanted to connect with you and like bring you into like a world where we could chat it up for a little bit. Um, but yeah, so that answers that question. Like I said, they do chat a lot. There is one particular scene that is kind of interesting, which is Sukuna and Yuji talking about flowers, where Yuji mentions certain flowers being hydrangeas or whatever, and then wait, no. Sukuna points out that a certain flower that Yuji mentions is a morning glory is actually hydrangea, and then Yuji's like, oh, well, how do you even know that? And then Sukuna's like, oh, actually, I got it from Megumi's memories. But it doesn't make sense for that to be the case because, well, Sukuna then follows up by saying that, like, oh, there's no reason for me to go through memories that don't mean anything or, like, are useless. And the fact of the matter is, flower memories are like actually super useless, especially a guy who basically claims himself to be like effectively like a major warlord. Like he doesn't seem like the kind of person to care about flowers. So it's interesting that he personally knows about flowers, or at the very least decide that the information about flowers was actually important for him to know from Megumi's memories. So that's interesting. It might go somewhere, it may not, but obviously just coming off this chapter, we don't really have anything anywhere that doesn't go anywhere because Yuji doesn't really question it further. Obviously, the most interesting part then comes in towards the end where Yuji kind of gets into his philosophy after Sukuna kind of like calls him out and basically says like, we've been going through all this stuff, talking about all this random crap. I've been entertaining this. We caught crawfish and did archery and stuff, but like, where were you trying to say? Um, and then Yuji goes into his whole spiel or of his new philosophy where he's basically like, the value of a person really comes from their memories, and that, having a role to play or dying doing your role, that's not really life, because that's not really the point of life, because, well, it's not like your role isn't set and you kind of set your own role. So what someone would consider, their role to play is up to them. And he kind of goes into a specification of like, it could be something as minute as just, caring for your family, or just, just being a lazy bum, you know, that could be your role. And if that's just what you want to do, like, that's just you. But it's more so about your memories. Your memories are what really make you valuable, make you a person, so on and so forth. So even if it's not a lot of memories, they still count for something. And that's what makes you, you know, worth something. And he then goes into the idea of like, him and Maito, the reason why they piss him off the most is because it's not because they necessarily think that humans have very little value or anything, or not even necessarily that he disagrees at the idea that people have different amounts of value. He gets into the idea of like, people aren't valueless. The idea that someone can like treat humans as if they serve no purpose is what really offends him, and what makes him not like Sukuna, and by extension not like Maito, two people who would basically say like all humans have the same value, zero. Um, and as Yuji basically breaks down his whole feelings and everything, he's like, I felt him to show you, humanity. I might be wrong, but I want to show you this and see like it maybe clicks with you or something. And Sukuna's basically like, nah. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Now, people's theories on this situation, right? Obviously, just on itself, this philosophy, very interesting. It kind of shows like the culmination of everything he's been through, where in the beginning he was like, I just want people to have a proper death, where he comes out on the other end, he's basically like, that doesn't matter. Really, like giving people, like, not to say he doesn't care about giving people a proper death, but like that's not the point. The point is that your life doesn't become worthless, or like lose value just because you died improperly. Like, these things kind of happen. What it really comes down to is like, did did you make memories? Basically, did you make memories for the people around you? Did you have memories of like, did you enjoy the life you lived, so on and so forth? Like, that's what really counts for like who you are as a person at the end of the day. Yeah. Now, people theorize that Yuji's talking to Megami in a sense, as in like he's trying to show the value of humanity and value of life to Megami as to get him to resist Sukuna, bring back his will to live. I don't really agree, at least based on the translations that are out right now. Based on the idea that like in the current translations, like when Sukuna denies his thought process, Yuji basically says like, oh well, I was kind of hoping that you would get it, but I'm not surprised, right? I feel like considering that he is directly talking to Sukuna, he would, he wouldn't react this way if Sukuna said this, but like I said, there's a potential for Megami to still be the direct, the person he's trying to speak to, the audience he's trying to get at with what he's saying. But as it stands right now, I feel like he is just talking to Sukuna. Up until this point, we really haven't seen Yuji really do anything else with Megami. Now, given like literally right after this, obviously we get the scene where Sukuna's very offended because he feels like Yuji's pitying him, basically because like Sukuna has no humanity, etc., so maybe he doesn't get it, yada yada yada, so he feels bad from him. But then Yuji follows up by basically be like, yeah, I can kill you, Sukuna, release Fushiguro, and return to my body, and I'll spare your life, or whatever, right? Obviously, that kind of suggests that, like, he's just trying to still save Megami. But, again, it doesn't, like, that would be a clear point for him to maybe be like, I'm talking to you, Megami, fight back, and we'll get you, I'll get Sukuna out of your body, but I need your help, or whatever. That would have been a great opportunity for that. So the idea he's still specifically talking to Sukuna, and not even mentioning Megami, to me is like a kind of indication that like, he's not really talking to Megami. He is trying to handle this all himself with Sukuna directly. But up in the air, we'll have to see in the next chapter for like exact confirmation. But as it stands now, that's where I stand on that matter. It's just Sukuna and Yuji at the moment. And then obviously the end of the chapter, we have Sukuna losing his shit and he gets really pissed off. He's like, how dare you threaten me? Give me an ultimatum. I'll show you. I'll kill everybody you know in love. Or whatever. End of chapter. Very cool panel, by the way, from Gege. But people are saying this is probably an empty threat from Sukuna, which it kind of is. Like, there's not even anyone else left on the battlefield anyway. Like, obviously, we could say like, oh, he beats up Yuji, then forces him to like see him, like track down whoever's left and kill them or whatever. But like, you'd have to beat Yuji first, and you were kind of caught dead to rights with the domain expansion. Like, even now, you still, as far as we know, you haven't even open simple domain or hollow wicker basket. Like, you're kind of cooked. Obviously, again, we'll see. I don't think we're in the domain, so we don't know what it really looks like out there. But nonetheless, though, yeah, that's kind of it. Just want to run through the main things of the chapter because, like I said, it is a talking chapter. A lot of the intricate I can't figure out that word. Right there. I'm gonna put the word right there. But that word, all those kinds of things, I felt like that should be left to someone who's a little bit more versed in like Japanese lore and religion and the area and so on. Somebody who's willing to do all that research. I'll let them do all the details. This is what I just wanted to get off. All the things that I gathered from the chapter and / from reading, watching various videos and seeing the explanations. And yeah, so we'll catch up on the next one. We do have a break next week because of some kind of Japanese holiday. Don't know which one. But in 2 weeks, we'll be back. And more than likely, we will be back to a fighting chapter where we will see the final interaction between Yuji and Sukuna, presumably. Anyway, that is all. Peace.